everyone. Welcome to Under the Gun. I am John Friedberg, and I have a very exciting show for you this week, coming straight live, well, not really live, but sort of live, from the house of Joe Sebok in Panorama Towers, overlooking the beautiful strip and city center behind me. I'm not sure how much of that you can see, but I promise it's there behind me. So Joe Sebok is going to be my guest on the show today, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff and then try to organize some festivities afterwards, primarily some bowling action with some of our friends in the poker world. But first, I wanted to show you all this new book out by James McManus, who, if you recall, was the author of Positively Fifth Street. It was a very successful book, a great read a couple of years ago. And James, or Jim, as I call him, has just released this new book called Cowboys Full, The Story of Poker. I have not read it yet, but I'm going to, and I have heard some really good things about it. So if you're interested in the poker world or reading books or both or either, check it out. It's going to be a good read. Cowboys Full, The Story of Poker. Next, I want to announce my Twitter winner, the winner of the poker lesson that I was giving away to one of my Twitter followers. Last week I mentioned 5 people, well 6 if you include Phil Locke, and I asked each of them to submit sort of an explanation on who they are, what their ambitions are, and why they want to earn a free poker lesson from me. And the winner that I selected is a lady by the name of Stacy Nutini. And Stacy was a music teacher in Ohio for many years before moving to Vegas in 2008. And she says she has attended pretty much every training session out there, from the Mavens course to the, I think she said the WPT boot camp, World Series Academy, etc. And she loves poker, says she is doing everything she can to learn everything she can about poker to become a successful professional poker player out here. Stacy also owns a website called LasVegasPokerSource.com, which I understand is a great source for learning about poker information in Las Vegas, whether it's tournaments, card rooms, etc. So, Stacy, congratulations. You have won a 2-hour poker lesson from me, and I look forward to talking to you about that and, of course, discussing poker. So I will be in touch with you this week. Okay, so with that said, let me get to having on Mr. Joe Sebok. He's standing right next to me waiting for me to finish this intro in his living room. So let's get Joe on the show and talk to him about what's going on. Joe Sebok, what's up?
I just can't believe that you finally have asked me to come on the show. I've been waiting. I've seen all these scrubs that you've had on, scrub after scrub after scrub.
After scrub.
Waiting for my chance.
Waiting.
So it's finally here. I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
My day is made. What's up?
Well, I mean, let's just, let's be honest with ourselves. There are certain people in poker that the public would like to see more than others. Scrubs. And frankly, if I wasn't hosting the show, I would never be invited on anyway. So you should just feel good that you're on.
I do feel good. It's a good day.
Well, shit, if you weren't so busy all the time, I would have had you on pretty much every episode.
It is true. It is true.
We both know that you are leading the lives of some 1.1, maybe 1.2 million people on Twitter.
Trying to on my good days.
How in the hell did you get, or have you accumulated over 1 million followers on Twitter?
So it's really simple. I'm not that interesting. I think everybody knows that when you get right down to it. But basically, Twitter got rolling. It got huge about 1.5 years ago. And I know some of the guys over there, and they kind of go through, all of the people that are on the site. Obviously there's suggested users and all that kind of stuff. And I think it was just a demographic that they didn't have. Poker player, somebody who, writes a lot and basically fills people in on what's going on. And they scooped me up. They threw me in that suggested users list. And basically anybody who has, up to 1 million followers has been on that list. Since then, they've kind of killed the list. It became sort of, this whole controversy that people wanted to be on it and they're trying to get on it, and it went back and forth, so they ended up just killing it. But that was sort of the onus. So anybody who's up, on that level has been on that list.
So is that Ali Najad also? I see he has quite a few followers.
Yes, Ali's bitch ass.
Same thing.
Went and somehow procured his way onto that list.
Saw that you were on there and had to sneak on too.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that, I certainly never asked to be on any list. I never requested it, and they just put me on the list. And Ali is he's a skilled Persian man. He finds his way to things. That's all I'm gonna say.
So I have about 1,000, maybe 1,100 followers, and I feel, that there's some form of obligation that I like let people know what's going on,
Sure.
and I don't get a whole lot of replies or whatever you like messages with my name on it necessarily. Yeah. But when you have like 1 million or over 1 million followers, it seems like you would need a team of 5 people just handling your Twitter account.
You get a lot. I mean, I'm lucky because that stuff is so fun to me. It's one of the things that I've got involved in poker, off the tables, whether it's been the radio shows or, the social media side of it. I like that stuff. So for me, it's really, really fun. And you can really tell when you're writing about things that people care about, because obviously you get more replies. Or if you're writing about something controversial, a lot of people like to jump in and sort of throw their 2 cents in. But I always have fun with it, man. I get a lot of people that give me a lot of support. I get a lot of people that give me a lot of hate. So
do the haters bother you?
Sometimes. I mean, sometimes they get a little personal. I don't mind anybody criticizing me or coming after me, talking about something, professionally. But sometimes they get personal, man, and they start making comments that are really not cool. But what are you going to do? I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, it's uncensored, and that's one of the things that we love about Twitter, right? That you can do anything and anybody can get involved. Some kid in like Bangladesh can call you a son of a bitch and like not even know you or have never met you. Like you have no idea what's going on. But that's one of the cool things about it. So you take the good with the bad.
So you have all the social media things going, which must take a ton of time. You have Poker Road. Mm-hmm. You are doing a lot of public speaking for UB, which I do want to ask you about later in the show. Okay. Let's talk about poker.
I mean, what is it? Poker?
Yeah.
You mean with cards?
5 letters with cards,
with
right?
With cards, you play that. Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you have time for poker anymore?
Not a lot. It sucks, because obviously when I first came in, I was a poker player. That's what I did. And that's sort of how, I kind of rose up. And, I did pretty well. I went deep and, tons of tournaments. Obviously, that's how I got known for almost.
I love went deep. I love these past tense.
I'm
a retired poker player.
It feels like that sometimes, I mean, we started Poker Road like 3 years ago. And now, obviously, UB, I've got involved with them and trying to sort of shore up that image and sort of, hopefully try to lead them, in the future and into making some good decisions and changing, some of the past. But yeah, I feel like I'm not a poker player, that often anymore. I still play online when I get a chance. And, when I play the big tournaments, I played at the Bike, and I cashed that. When I played the Bellagio, here last week and, made it to the end of day 2. So I still feel like, my skills are there, but the time isn't there. You know what I mean? It's like anything else. I mean, as well as I do. I mean, if you just go these long stretches without playing, I mean, you just kind of lose some of your edge.
Well, the games progress so fast.
Totally. Not only that, just your reading ability, just all those things that you kind of take for granted and you were so comfortable with, all of a sudden they're just a little bit rougher to do. So I'm kind of like every day learning on the fly, like when I play these tournaments. So it's a bummer though, man. I miss playing.
A lot of the casinos now are becoming like really open and okay with players using phones at the table.
Right. I think I made that rule happen actually.
Probably you and Phil Locke, probably. But that being said, I mean, do you find that that's distracting at all? Because I know when I'm texting during the World Series or something, I feel like I'm missing things.
100%.
And it just seems like the players that are winning more today tend to be the players that aren't like Twittering, every single hand.
100%. 100. You couldn't possibly be more right. I mean, it's sucking up your time, it's sucking up your focus, it's pulling you out of the game. I mean, it's doing all of these things. And for me specifically, just with all the business stuff, man, it wasn't so much this last year, but the year before at the World Series. I mean, Poker Road was new. I mean, I could not be off my phone. And, consequently, I had a horrible World Series. I just didn't lock in. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the kids that are coming up now aren't doing that stuff. They are the monsters. They are playing poker like 20 hours a day, reading about it, discussing it, talking about it. Their minds are in it. They don't give a shit about Twitter. They don't care about any of that crap. They just want to dominate. And I think that that's definitely a quality that is very unique to kind of when you first come into the game. I'm sure you remember too. You're just so obsessed with it, and that's all you want to do is play poker and talk about poker. And it changes a little bit. But that's why I think, the most of the best poker players at this point are the young guys.
Well, I'm seeing like a big sort of a disconnect forming where, early on in let's say 2002, 3, 04, when a lot of the, when poker was just booming in the U.S., the players that got real well known were the players that were on TV at the time. Sure. Not necessarily because they're all great players, but because they were all playing in the televised tournaments at the right time.
Yeah.
And, of course, some personalities developed. Well, since then, I feel like those people have gone off to get, good size endorsement deals,
Right.
in addition to
For sure.
some other players that were a little later to come in the game, yourself and me included, where we're sort of, kind of going along and chasing endorsement deal type things, whereas
Right.
there's a whole swarm of kids that don't give a crap about endorsements,
Right.
and they're just like becoming the best poker players in the world.
Right.
So it's almost like there's a whole category of the more well-known poker players,
Definitely.
and then a whole different category of who the best players are.
Right. No, I
and they're
agree.
not really the same anymore.
Oh, I agree 100%. It's interesting, though, because those young guys do come in, and you're right, in the beginning they don't care about the endorsements. But, of course, once you get in the industry, you realize how much money is on that side of the ball. And everybody wants the fame. I mean, that's why we play the tournaments. That's why, all these kids play the tournaments. They want to win, but everybody wants to be a big shot. So I think slowly over time it is changing. It used to be, like you said, all these guys with these personalities, maybe they weren't the best players, but they're on TV, and then they have these sponsorship deals, and they end up blowing up. But now it's different because all these super hardworking, intelligent kids are coming in, becoming incredible poker players, but maybe they're not as boisterous. They don't have the personalities that some of the big guys do. But it's interesting. I think you said it perfectly. I mean, the whole industry is changing, and in poker is in its infancy that it just continues to change, man. I mean, year to year, it's like a completely different industry the next year. But I totally agree with you. The best players in the world are the people that we don't know about. They don't have sponsorships. Mm-hmm. We don't know who they are. We're not seeing them on TV, at least not yet. So I think that's, going to be another thing that's going to change in the coming years. It's just going to keep happening,
Well, it's a game with a lot of variance, for one.
Yeah.
And it's a game where, in order for there to be any interest, on a broad scale, there have to be personalities involved.
Absolutely.
And personalities don't always correlate to poker skills. So
absolutely. Well, and
that's
a lot of
just
times
the nature of the beast.
A lot of times it's the opposite. I mean, a lot of times it's the quieter guys. You know what I mean? Because the bottom line is poker is a studious game, as you know. So all of a sudden, the good players are no longer scrappy, scrappy men and women who had, sort of difficult life experiences. That's a lot of what we had when I first came into the game. Guys like Chow Jiang, guys who'd gone through a lot and became mentally tough. Now it's not like that. Now it's these incredibly intelligent Ivy League kids who were going to school for something and then realized, hey, I can make millions of dollars playing this incredibly competitive, complicated, fun
right.
game. So I'm going to apply my mind to that. So that's what it is now. People are coming out of school. I mean, they're just little geniuses. They're all so much more intelligent. Not necessarily just in poker, but just overall. They've done so much, and then they come in. So again, just more changes. It's crazy how the game just keeps changing.
Now, I mentioned about you doing a lot of public speaking for UB.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I want to ask you about. And I've spent some time in the forums myself, and I see that you get flamed a lot because you are really, sticking your neck out there for
right.
UB and
sure.
trying to inform the world that mistakes were made. Things are all being done with the most, highest integrity and ethical
right.
standpoint
right.
now. And I've seen other people say this, but I wonder myself also, why is it that we always hear you talking about everything, but I never hear anything coming out of Phil Hellmuth or Annie Duke?
Right.
I mean, along the way. Of course, they'll
sure.
plug UB, but when it comes to addressing the serious issues
right.
that a lot of people want to know and overcome, why is it that you're the only person
right.
that's talking about this?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, and I by no means am saying UB is perfect, everything is great. I'm saying, like you said, a lot of these mistakes were made. Let's correct them. Let's try to change things moving forward. And that's something I've dedicated myself to, and I really want to do that. Now, it wasn't a situation where, UB came to me and said, hey, we want you to be our spokesperson for this. We want you to handle all this. It wasn't like that. If anything, it was me wanting to be involved. When I first signed, I said, the only way I can do this is if I can be involved, if I can be the guy, who's on the front lines, who gets his, his hands dirty and is trying to figure out how to make this the best situation possible. So that's what I've done, and to their credit, they've let me do that. They've never censored me. They've never said, you can't say this, you can't say that. That just doesn't happen, so it's been a really good situation for me. I get flamed a lot, I get attacked a lot, and rightfully so, man. I mean, UB's been under fire, and they've made a lot of mistakes in the past. So I understand, and I would never fault anyone for taking that standpoint, and I accept the criticism. It's not a problem. I knew that it wasn't going to be easy going in, and it hasn't been easy for the last 12 months, so I'm not going to lie.
Well, so are you insinuating that Annie and Phil just choose not to step up and say it? They're just interested in...
The truth is with them, I think you just have to ask them,
Okay.
why they, have decided not to do that. I mean, for me, I just have to be true to myself. Like, I knew going in, hey man, this is something I want to do. I'm definitely a pro poker player, and I can cover that side of the ball. But there's a lot of business things I want to do, and it was a situation that I wanted to help. So I can't say why, maybe Phil doesn't talk about it or Annie doesn't talk about it anymore. I really don't know. I'm not sure. But one of the reasons that I've probably kind of gravitated towards it is just because I wanted it. And UB obviously is happy, to have somebody to sort of run with the ball and be able to hopefully address a lot of these particular questions. But I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask them. It's not really anything that I can answer. I don't know why they don't get more involved.
My phone has a speakerphone on it, so let's call it right now. No, I'm just kidding, of course. What you and I were talking about before the camera started rolling is that when you're in
Whoa, we can't. The cameras weren't rolling. We can't talk about
they weren't. Sorry.
We can't. Okay.
No, but when in an industry with so much money to be made,
right,
there will always be, leaks in the system or people
absolutely.
Who are trying to take advantage of the situation. Now, a lot of people point their fingers at, online poker as a whole. Well, there has to be, it's so easy to cheat in online, so why do you play online or whatever? But the fact of the matter is, in any industry, in any business, in Wall Street, right? Those are some of the most, ethical businesses out there that we are, that are steering our economy. And the same, scandals happen everywhere. So
absolutely,
I think to quote you, you said something like, scandals are always going to happen.
Right.
But all we can do is try our hardest to prevent them from happening.
Right.
And what was it? Get over it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just the system. I mean, it's part of life. I mean, people are going to try to exploit situations that they can exploit. I mean, whether that's cheating online poker, or working the stock market, or shoplifting candy bars, or whatever. It's just a part of life. So to say that online poker shouldn't exist or people shouldn't play because of it, I think that that's just taking it too far. Like I said, you have to try to prevent as much as you can. You have to obviously punish people when you can possibly do it, which, again, is an argument for regulation, which we've all been making for so long. I mean, the UB scandal that passed is probably the biggest argument for regulation you could possibly have. It'd be nice if we could go after those guys and actually put them in jail. That would be great.
All right. So you work very hard, obviously, and
sometimes.
I assume, actually, I know you personally, so I know for a fact you also play very hard. But I have an idea. Why don't we maybe get some guys together and do a bowling night or something? Blow off some steam.
Hell yeah! We need to do a bowling night.
You want to?
I just want to take people's money. So any situation we can construct that I can take someone's money, I feel good about that.
Okay. Well, let's do that. I say we let's make a phone call, get a few guys together for bowling, get something lined up for tonight, bring the cameras.
Done.
And
Love it.
Bring some people into the lives of what poker players do to blow off some steam at night.
Done.
Of course, I'm sure all of you are already following Mr. Sebok on Twitter, but in case you're not, he's at Joe Sebok, and of course I'm at John Friedberg. So with that said, Joe and I are going to wrap up now. I have a few phone calls to make, and so does Joe, to get some bowling action on for tonight. And immediately after this, you will be watching us bowling. But in the meantime, I will see you guys next week, and enjoy the, hopefully, Joe and I kicking some ass at the bowling lanes.
Later.
Game one. So if we look at the team totals, we're like 30 pins ahead of you.
Pins.
So we'll give you 11. I'll give you 11 pins.
We'll give you 11 pins.
No bet.
How'd you come up with that?
No wager.
Okay, 15.
15 pins.
340.
You got us by...
445.
You guys are primetime players, though, man. You guys are primetime players. We're not. 100 a pin?
100 a pin.
Are you high?
Is that too much or too little?
Too much. $100 a
Divided by 4 people.
What happens if you win by 50 pins?
It's divided by 4 people.
It doesn't matter. What happens if you win by 50 pins?
Divided by 4 people. What are you
You guys
working?
could easily win by 40, or we could win by 40.
I'm on your side.
So we decided to make it a team bet going into game 2, and the 4-person group, which is my group,
God damn it,
is
Eric.
spotting the others 25 pins, and then we're playing. We're betting $20 a pin. So
My team's already doing terrible. This is ridiculous.
yeah, they're drawing dead.
Getting bad.
All right. Conclusion of the 5th frame. Mid-game update. It's Wisconsin against the world, and they underestimated that the more pitchers that go down, the better we get, and it's starting to show. So they're in trouble.
Now we got a game, kids.
Mr. Sebok, we're in the 7th frame now. He got 4 consecutive strikes in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th frames. And I think he's up to bowl next. So he's pretty much keeping us in this one. He scored a 92 in the first game. He's already got like 122 plus bonuses coming up this game. And we got a long ways to go.
Coming into the 10th.
Yeah, we're beating them up. We're beating them up pretty bad.
Wow, we're owning them. We're up like 60 or 70 pins going into the 10th frame.
2 to 176. Sebok, first game, no bet on the line. He bowls a 92. Game 2, money on the line, 20 bucks a pin. We'll go ahead and roll a 176. We'll just double up. That's fine.
Let the high score go that easily.
Sounds like somebody about to make a payment.
Wins 1,060.
I tried to keep it low. Nobody would listen to me. I tried to keep it low. Nobody would listen to me. Try to come out and have a good time. Everybody wants to bet thousands of dollars. I don't understand why.
hustled everybody.
I didn't hustle nobody. I told everybody I wasn't going to bowl like that again. I said that is the worst I've ever bowled.
It really isn't right. Just when you bowl better the next game than you did the first game, you're supposed to get rewarded. You're not supposed to have to pay. That's just, I feel really guilty about it.